Kate here. Today we're going to be working on one of my new summer sewing patterns for simplicity, pattern 8093. We're going to be sewing along and making view B, which is our wide leg crop pants. Now if you're new to sewing or you just need a refresher course, I suggest that you visit the Sewing Basics video linked in the description box below. In that video I cover all of the basic tools that you need, how to read your pattern, how to read and understand what size you should cut, how to cut out your paper pattern, how to lay your pattern pieces onto your fabric, how to cut out your fabric, and how to read some of the information that is written on your tissue paper. All of these things and a whole lot more are covered in that video. So like I said, if you're new or you just need a refresher, head over and watch that video and then come follow along with me. Now I've already cut all of my pattern pieces out of my fabric, so let's make sure that you have cut out everything that you need. You should have 4 pieces of pattern piece number 10, which is our side pockets. You should have cut out 2 each on the fold of pattern piece 11 and 12, which is our waistband front and back, and 1 of each has to be interfaced. You're going to need to cut out 2 of pattern piece number 9, which is the back of our pant, and then 2 of pattern piece number 8, which is the front of our pant. Once you have everything cut out and interfaced, we can start sewing. Okay, we're going to start with the front of our pants. So grab one front pant leg and we're going to create our front pleat, bringing our broken line to our broken line. Make sure that you're folding your pleat to your side seam and not towards the center of your pants. And then just baste it down. And then you're going to do the same thing to the other front. Making sure you're folding your pleat towards your sides. Then set these aside and grab your back pant pieces, and you're going to create your dart. So you should have created your dart legs and then have a little dot where your dart ends. And I'm going to put a pin where my dart ends so I don't miss it. Don't backstitch at the end of your dart so that you don't get that little bump. Instead, just pull your threads and make 2 knots. And then do the other dart the same way. And go ahead and press your dart so that your dart is facing your center front or center back. And then we're going to lay one of our fronts, right sides facing, over one of our backs, and we're going to stitch our inseam. So I have front to back, right sides facing, and I'm going to pin down the entire inseam, matching my notches. And once you have it pinned, you're going to stitch using 5/8 of an inch seam allowance. And you're going to stitch the remaining front and back pant leg the same way. Okay, once you have both of your inseams sewn together front to back, we're going to open them up. So open both pant legs up, and we're going to match up our inseam, I should say, and we're going to pin there, and then we're going to pin across the entire crotch, making sure that your 2 double notches are aligned. I'm sorry, your 3 double notches, your 3 notches are aligned. This lets you know that this is center back to center back. And then pin at the top. And then make sure your double notch for the front, center front of your pants line up. And at the top. And we're going to sew this using a 5/8 of an inch seam allowance, starting at the top. Okay, once you're done, I want you to go ahead and trim just the curved area here down to 1/4 inch. Now go ahead and grab one of your pockets, or 2 of your pockets, I should say. And we're gonna work on the right side of our pants. Make sure the front is facing you so you can tell which is your right and your left side. And then place one pocket, right side's facing. Make sure that you're aligning your notches. You should have a notch and 2 dots. You're going to stitch your pocket down to your right front at the sides using 3/8 of an inch seam allowance. And then I'm going to have you open it up and I'm going to have you understitch. So make sure that your seam allowance is facing your pocket, and we're going to stitch really close to that edge. Like this. Okay, and now you're going to attach the other right pocket to the right side of the back. Place it the same way you did before. Okay, now we're going to take front to back and we're going to pin at the top and then pin together the pocket. Once you have your pocket pinned, go ahead and pin the remaining part of your side seam. And we're going to start stitching at the top and stopping at the dot. And then you're going to move down and start again at the dot. And continue stitching 5/8 of an inch all the way down. And now we're going to sew the remaining part of our pocket. Now I'm going to have you clip just underneath the pocket. You're going to press the remaining seam all the way down, pressed flat and open, and then you're going to press your pocket towards the front of your pants and you're going to baste the very top of it. Okay, now we're going to work on our left front, and this was going to be done a little bit differently because we're actually attaching our invisible side zipper to this side as well. So we're going to start with the pocket. Go ahead and grab your pocket and place it right sides facing. Make sure that you pin at the top, pin at that dot, and then pin at the other dot where we're supposed to start stitching and stop stitching. And we're going to stitch in between these at 5/8 of an inch seam allowance. And then I want you to clip at the dot. Don't clip through your stitching. And we're going to understitch. And now I want you to put your pocket to the inside, and at that slit we're going to take out the remaining side so that it looks like that, and give this a good press. Okay, once you have it pressed, it should look like this. And so now you're going to take the remaining pocket piece and we're going to stitch it down to the one we've already done. So stitch at the top, and then stitch also at the bottom, and then we're going to stitch the entire pocket together. And now you can give it another press, and then we're going to baste it to the very top. Okay, now set this aside and grab your front and back waistband, the interfaced front and back waistbands. Okay, I want you to lay your front waistband on top of your front waistband, right sides facing, and we're going to stitch together one side using 5/8 of an inch seam allowance. And then I want you to go ahead and give this a press, and then we're going to stitch this down to our pants. So what you're going to do is you're going to place your side seam to side seam at the waist, and we're going to pin there first, and then you're going to continue pinning, matching your notches on your waistband and on your pants until you have the entire waistband pinned onto your pants. Okay, I have my entire waistband pinned, so now we're going to stitch it down, and we're going to use 5/8 of an inch seam allowance. Now I want you to take this to your ironing table, and I want you to press your seams towards your yoke. Okay, once you have your yoke nice and pressed, we're going to go ahead and insert our invisible zipper. I'm going to do my instructions a little different than they're given in the pattern instructions, simply because I find this method a little easier for beginners, and also because you don't need an invisible zipper foot. You can use just your regular basic zipper foot that comes standard with your sewing machine. So what I'm going to have you do first is I'm going to have you pin your pocket out of the way like I did here, because I don't want this to get caught while we're sewing our zipper. So I'm going to just pin it out of the way. And then I'm going to have you align first your waistband seams to make sure that that's aligned. You don't want them off center when you're sewing. And then I'm going to have you pin the remaining side all the way down. And what we're going to do is we're going to create some long basting stitches at the very top until we get to the point where we stop, our zipper stop will end, and then we're going to go back to a normal stitch. So I want you to go to the longest stitch you have possible. No back stitching. You're just going to stitch down. And then you're going to back stitch. And we're going to go back to our normal length stitch and continue stitching the rest of our side seam. Now I want you to go to your ironing table, and I want you to press the seam open all the way down. Okay, now go ahead and grab your invisible zipper. I just happen to have this really extra long one. I always buy really long zippers, and then if I need to cut them down, then I just cut them down to whatever size I need. But if you have the size that you need for this project, that's fine. I'm gonna go ahead and place my zipper tape so that my zipper pull is above my waistline, so that it's completely out of my way while I'm sewing. And I'm going to pin this down. Only to one side seam allowance. And we're just going to baste this down. Switch to my zipper foot. And using a really long stitch, I'm just going to baste my zipper down to this seam allowance. And I want to keep the center of my zipper along that seam line. Back stitch, and then I'll just end up cutting this off when I'm done. And then you're going to turn it around, and you're going to be doing the same thing on the other seam allowance. You're just going to baste this down. I'm going to clip off any loose threads here, and then we're going to open this up just until we have the end of our zipper, where we change from our basting stitch to our normal length stitch. We're going to remove only our basting stitches. Once you remove your basting stitches, you can go ahead and open your zipper. And I'm going to move my zipper pull out of the way. And now what we're going to do is we're going to do that all over again, but now we're going to be using a normal length stitch. And now we're going to be sewing really close to our zipper teeth. So what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to open your coils and sew very close to them. And just go slow, open your coils and stitch. Now we're going to do the other side the same way. And now you can close out your zipper, turn your pants to the right side, and now you can give this a press, and now you have your invisible zipper and your pocket. Okay, now go ahead and stitch the remaining side waistbands or yoke. So you're going to place your back yoke over your front, or I'm sorry, your front yoke over your back yoke, and we're going to stitch together the left side. And go ahead and press this open. You can finish the bottom of your waistband by turning in 1/4 inch and stitching close to the edge, or maybe you might want to serge the bottom. That depends on you, which method you prefer. I'm going to go ahead and pin my waistband to my pants at the waist. So I'm going to start by pinning one side seam. And then I'm going to pin again, and then pin one more time. Okay, and now I'm going to stitch it down using 5/8 of an inch seam allowance. Now I'm going to feel for my zipper, and I'm going to sew pretty close to the edge of that. I'm going to clip into my corner. And then that way I have a clean side on both sides. And you're going to do the same thing on the other side. And now we're going to understitch, so making sure that your seam allowance is facing the yoke that is not interfaced, so towards the top. We're going to understitch, stitching close to the edge. Now I want you to go ahead and press your waistband. Okay, now I'm going to have you pin down the inside of your yoke a couple of times so that when we stitch in the ditch from the outside, we make sure that we catch the yoke. So I'm just going to pin in a couple of places. I'm going to turn this over, and we're literally going to be stitching in the ditch, which means we're stitching inside of our seam line. Now you can remove your pins, cut off any loose threads, and then we're going to finish off the hem of our pant legs and we are all done. Okay, so the last thing to do is to finish our hem. And so what I've done is I pressed under a 1/4 inch and then I pressed under an inch. And then you're going to sew close to the edge of this folded edge here, all the way around. You're going to do that for both pant legs and you are all done. I hope you've enjoyed these sew-alongs. Until next time, peace.